Council to order for 3 p.m. on November 27th. I'll ask for a motion from Councillor Barton that Council adopt the agenda for the regular council meeting November 27th as presented.
Yeah, my motion, Mayor.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Ask for a motion from Councillor Smith that an omnibus motion adopts the following in accordance with Council's procedure bylaw, November 14th, regular council meeting minutes and the strategic priorities chart.
I'll give you that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. First piece in the agenda, any public comments regarding items in the agenda before we get started? See none, hear none. First delegation only delegation that we have is from Foothills Tourism Development Zone Discovery. Cameron?
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you for the opportunity to present today. My name is Cameron Spence. I'm Destination Development Manager of the Foothills and the Rockies region with the Travel Alberta team. I'm also joined today with Dana Smokum, who is Specialist Communications and Engagement with the Travel Alberta team, and Mr. James Carmichael, who's Chair of the Foothills Tourism Association and General Manager of the Granary Road Farmers Market. I'd also like to acknowledge Khalid Mohammed, who has committed his time over the past year to be part of what we call our Foothills Destination Development Steering Committee, which also has been a role for James. And thank you to both for your support and leadership over the last year in preparation of this report that I'll be presenting today. And just in case you're wondering what a Travel Alberta is, Travel Alberta is the destination management organization of the Government of Alberta. It was established as a Crown Corporation in 2009, and we work under the authority of the Travel Alberta Act within the Ministry of Tourism and Sport. So today I will first talk about Travel Alberta's overall strategic direction, in essence why we're doing this. I'm going to highlight what we learned during the discovery process over the past year and touch on a number of key considerations that the report brings forward. I'll leave ample time at the end for some questions, and the presentation will be about 20 minutes long. So the purpose of the Foothills Tourism Destination Development Report is to really bring forward and inform and identify specific actions that Travel Alberta, the Government of Alberta, and communities within the Foothills Tourism Development Zone can consider in terms of designing a comprehensive destination development for the zone. So the report is not a plan, but it's a precursor for such. The Discovery Report aligns the tourism development ambitions that local stakeholders and communities shared with us over the past year with the province's goal to double tourism revenues by 2035. Now, it is a bold goal that is set by Travel Alberta to double revenues over the next 11 years, and successfully achieving it will require a number of things. First of all, it's going to require us addressing complex challenges, working under resource constraints, and competing with better funded destinations, both domestically and internationally. And to succeed, we're going to have to think differently moving forward. So we cannot achieve a goal of $20 billion in expenditures by 2035 by targeting the same people, going to the same places during the same seasons. And a few key dynamics that require new thinking include the fact that in Alberta, we see what's called a regional compression of visitation and expenditures in 5 legacy destinations around the province. So this is Calgary, Edmonton, and the communities and national parks in the Rockies. Secondly, we also have seasonal compression here in the province of Alberta, where you see the majority of tourism revenues occurring during the summer months. And as we move forward, our goal won't really succeed by promoting the same areas of the province as we've done in the past. So central to the success in achieving that goal is what we term as a dispersion strategy, which is noted in this figure here. And the strategy really focuses on developing additional emerging destinations across the province, creating more opportunities for Albertans to explore their own backyard, and creating more space for international visitation and legacy destinations, and developing new opportunities for international travelers to discover other parts of the province. This also helps mitigate a situation that we have, which is called the Alberta Traveler Deficit. And what this is defined as is that Albertans spend on an annual basis more money outside of the province of Alberta than other provincial residents spend in Alberta. So this will also help mitigate that situation. We estimated that these emerging destinations around the province represent $15 billion in potential growth between 2025 and 2035. And this translates directly into economic benefits and job creation in communities throughout the province. So the destination discovery efforts that we have been underway now for almost a year is that the province has identified 10 tourism development zones with the foothills as one of those zones. Travel Alberta selected these zones based on the potential to increase capacity while ensuring responsible and sustainable development and growth for the future. As Travel Alberta moves forward to work with industry and government to increase tourism revenues in the province, the question is how much can each of these zones contribute to that goal? Travel Alberta's Insight team has estimated that with the right kind of investments and programming in the foothills zone, it can provide incremental contribution of almost $1 billion by 2035 and more than 3,000 new jobs. Now note, all of these numbers are incremental, which means the area in the gray there is really the difference between essentially doing nothing as it pertains to tourism development, and the difference is in terms of finding valuable and effective and sustainable tourism development projects over the next 10 years that can change that trajectory on both visitor spending, gross domestic product, increased taxes, and increased jobs. Now, these figures that we have developed are based on the projects and investments that were actually shared with us over the past year. This data will change as we begin to understand more potential from the communities and from private and public investment. So we'll go over the engagement process that we followed over the past year. So essential to understanding the Foothills Tourism Development Zone was hearing from the communities. We contracted 5 consulting firms to work with us over the past year, and all of their input has been provided into the report. Several months of engagement across the zone included a visitation to 6 communities, Bragg Creek, Diamond Valley, Okotoks, High River, Nanton, and Longview. Also visits to proposed investment sites, meetings with over 200 industry partners, and a number of planning sessions. And then also the consultants performed one-on-one interviews with both businesses and provincial representatives. Now, we recognize that there are several Indigenous communities and operators in the designated zone who are excited about developing tourism. And in an effort not to speak on behalf of our Indigenous partners, we'll be waiting until our Indigenous engagement is finalized before we speak to those opportunities. We're very excited about working in partnership with Indigenous Tourism Alberta and 2 select consulting firms on that. And they will be engaging and sharing space with our Indigenous partners over the next while, and we'll look forward to next steps and information and ideas that we can obviously weave into the insights of the destination report. Now, in moving forward, the discovery report obviously was guided by a lot of enthusiastic participation by diverse groups. And the report really concentrates on understanding what current initiatives are in the area, looking at future possibilities and aspirations by communities and stakeholders, and then it distills down into a number of strategic priorities that would help us focus an implementation plan moving forward. Now, our observations so far have been that there are 3 overarching feedback and discovery themes that really emerge out of the report. First of all, Foothills stakeholders were very clear in their enthusiasm to develop tourism in the zone, but were resolute that this would require support from multiple orders of government, Along with this is the importance of tourism adding to the natural, social, and cultural landscape. Secondly, there's interest from stakeholders to work closer together to collectively understand how they can better leverage the benefits of tourism. So there's strong interest and collaboration from the communities across the zone. And then finally, there's interest in elevating tourism as a powerful sector to spur investment and activity that contributes to the lifestyle of the communities in each of those zones. In terms of residents, the success of developing tourism across all of Alberta's tourism development zones hinges on tourism's impact on the quality of life for local residents. Quite simply, if it's not good for residents, it's not going to be good for visitors. And Travel Alberta has been tracking resident sentiment across the province for the past year. And as part of this initiative, we assessed resident sentiment at the zone level. So first, in the foothills, residents showed a strong interest in seeing more visitors in their community, 70% compared to the average Alberta resident sentiment of 62%. And this indicates that residents are open to seeing growth in the tourism sector as long as development takes place in a manageable way. Secondly, there is a relatively low awareness of the direct impact tourism has on the day-to-day life in the foothills, 35% compared to 40% for Albertans at large. The point is that there is significant work and opportunity here to be done on communication side in terms of providing more information to residents. Often, it's actually not that easy to see the direct benefit of tourism on a community as it's spread across many types of businesses and partners. And then finally, Foothills residents trended strong in their opinion regarding the importance of tourism in their communities, 75% versus Alberta residents at 70%. Now, I want to turn the lens to present Alberta market demand for a second. So this is visitor attitudes, behavior, and what Albertans are really looking for. Now, first and foremost, of all the tourism development zones, Albertans are most familiar with the foothills as a vacation opportunity or vacation experience, with 7 out of 10 Albertans aware of the foothills as a vacation destination. Albertans also have a very positive impression of the area, with more than half likely to travel to the zone for a leisure trip over the next 12 months. And there's also significant interest in visiting outside the summer vacation window. Top activities that they're likely to respond to are hiking, staying in a cabin, or generally an opportunity to stay overnight in some sort of unique accommodation, and farmers markets. There is a very strong demand platform here to build from as it pertains to extending length of stay, diversifying demand into the shoulder and the winter months. Our team at Travel Alberta also looked at international demand by leveraging insights from Destination Canada's Global Tourism Watch. Now, Destination Canada is the national destination management organization, and it performs consumer-based intelligence in 9 international markets. There are many of the raw ingredients here in the foothills that are very attractive to international visitation, and there's also an opportunity to really expand on product sectors to attract those visitors. So as with any great report or plan, our consultants performed a SWOT analysis, and here's a number of strengths that popped out that were very valuable for all of us to understand. Again, as we pointed out earlier here, strong awareness and perception of the zone. The landscape, scenery, and Western culture here is of interest to international visitors. And then also the close proximity of this zone to Calgary International Airport, City of Calgary, and the connection to the Bow Valley through Kananaskis country also provides some very significant strengths moving forward. Challenges that were unearthed were, how do we increase the overall accommodations offering with a focus on boutique hotels, guest ranches, and other types of accommodation that would be of interest to both domestic and international visitors? How do we increase the overall product offering of the zone? How do we maintain and grow resident sentiment in support of tourism? and its positive impact? How do we gain support for the creation of an enabling environment for tourism entrepreneurs? And addressing challenges around destination management, organization, governance, and sustainability moving forward, and having a structure in place. Opportunities included the opportunity for international visitors, which would be interested in the culture and scenery of the area, the potential for connectivity with the Bow Valley, which hosts international visitors and domestic visitors, and how does that append to and link to that? In addition to that, there's interest in collaboration across the communities. Now, a destination-led product development approach is really essential to achieving the objectives of the Foothills Tourism Development Zone, as it helps ensure a consistent and a coherent approach across all other planning that's happening in the zone. So this framework, Icon, Signature, Core, Supporting, and Ancillary, helps us facilitate the categorization of tourism product within the zone. And it identifies appropriate product development that can be undertaken in alignment with the zone's maturity level. Now, across all of the zones, we have identified that there's a need for a tailored mix of accommodation and experiences across all these segments. But in Alberta, we're seeing that we have a strong offering in the supporting and the core areas, and this provides an opportunity for us to continue to build that framework to look at what we can accomplish as it pertains to Signature and Icon. Now Icon tourism products are very rare. So when you think of Icon, you think of something like the Fairmont Banff Springs, something that has a draw internationally, and it has notoriety international. And as we move forward here in this particular zone, the majority of products in the Foothills Tourism Development Zone are considered core products. And there's a need for additional supporting and ancillary products, such as accommodation and restaurants, to aid future growth and facilitate access to discussions regarding Signature and even potentially iconic products. So filling this product gap will be a priority in the zone moving forward, and taking an approach regarding sustainable tourism will be key to that approach, especially as it pertains to aligning to resident sentiment and what's important for residents, what sort of amenities in the communities residents would take advantage of and would essentially elevate the quality of life in these communities is also an asset that travelers can use. Now, as we moved forward and based on our observations from the Discovery Report, Travel Alberta assessed each tourism development zone based on two criteria. So on this slide, you'll see market potential and destination readiness in the red area. And those are all the elements that Travel Alberta used to assess each of the tourism development zones. Between September 20th and October 11th of this year, we surveyed the steering committees that were formed for each of the 10 zones to better understand how the committee members perceived how we were moving forward and how they ranked these zones based on potential and readiness. For the Foothills Steering Committee actually rated both the market potential and the destination readiness higher than the Travel Alberta team. Now, a key point here is that there is agreement that the Foothills Tourism Development Zone has significant potential. A number of key factors that are common to both of these groups is that bottom line is there's currently strong awareness from a regional perspective, as was noted before. There's limited high-value export-ready accommodation. And when we say export-ready accommodation, this is accommodation that would be appealing to international visitors. This is common across all the tourism development zones. And then finally, there is an interesting collaboration amongst the communities that was unearthed during the stakeholder engagement that we performed. Now, in terms of moving forward on next steps, a lot of information on this slide is that as we move through the first part of what we call a discovery phase, which this report notes and summarizes, is that as we move forward, there needs to be an assessment here that's much broader as we're going to move towards destination development planning. So we noticed that during the discovery phase that there are reports and there's research and there's studies that have been done for one reason or another across this zone, but none of them actually connected in terms of building a stronger local tourism sector. And that's very common because, as you can see from this slide, there are so many elements that tourism touches that requires attention, consideration, and investment that really lives beyond a lot of the resources of individual organizations and communities. So as we move forward, we'll be using this framework to get a better sense of how we can address all of these elements in moving forward as it pertains to building a stronger destination development plan. Now, what we're recommending in the mid and short term here, in order to really move things forward in terms of the insights of the report, is to focus on three elements with the steering committee over the next few months. So the first recommendation is to quickly leverage the concept of community clusters across the zone. There was 5 clusters identified through the process. It actually was identified by the stakeholders during workshops that we performed during the discovery process. So this included Bragg Creek, Okotoks, High River, Diamond Valley combined with Longview, and Nanton. Secondly, a key product gap in the zone, as noted, is accommodation, high-value export-ready accommodation, and closing this gap over the next few years would help the zone accelerate what we call visitor mix evolution. So this is simply trying to determine how we can increase length of stay by appealing to both domestic and international travelers to not only travel to the zone on a daily basis, but also take a look at multi-day visitation in the zone by staying overnight. And then finally, there's an opportunity to work with the towns at elevating tourism as it relates to community development. Working with community development platforms that already exist and making sure that the project focuses on what the communities value most and what would enhance quality of life for residents as the priority. So in summarizing things, we suggest forming working groups for each of the community clusters. Moving forward here, High River would be one of those working groups, working with communities to elevate tourism-related investments, working with partners across the zone regarding what we call export readiness as it pertains to determining how we can ready the area to host and greet international visitors. And then finally, embracing an approach to destination development that positively adds to that natural, social, cultural, and economic resources of the foothills. Our timelines are somewhat aggressive here. The idea of creating the working groups would be moved forward very quickly here so that we can form those by the end of this month. A few days left here. The end of December, the working groups would have met and done a consensus approach regarding the 8 strategic initiatives that exist within the Tourism Development Report. In January, we will have prioritized specific strategic initiatives and the action items under each of those. And then by the end of March, I've identified some priority action items that could potentially be invested from both a public and private perspective. I want to thank you very much for the time today, and I certainly would love to address any questions. Dana and I would love to respond, or if any comments. Thank you.
Thanks, Cameron. Well done. Questions from council. Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Mayor Snodgrass. Thank you, Cameron and Dana, lead. I have one question from the report itself. On page 29, it says that by 2035, the connectivity of the foothills will be year-round to the Rockies. So is that an understanding that the road, Highway 40, would be made year-round? Is that an intention or something that has been looked at?
In terms of long-term, the fact is right now Highwood Pass is closed 6 months of the year, and it hasn't been broached with the provincial government at all. The fact is, though, that by having Highwood Pass closed 6 months of the year, it would be somewhat of a barrier for the development of programming with international travel trade. However, the fact is that even if there could potentially be an early opening of that road in the spring, could mitigate some of those barriers. The idea here is to try to determine if there is a sustainable approach to having increased access between the Bow Valley and foothills to allow the development of multi-day itineraries. So that's more of a, it's more of a sense of a target on that one. But the conversations on the provincial level have not occurred.
Okay. And then, so when you're talking about creating these clusters, who are you hoping to, have you already decided who is going to be part of them? Is it part of the working groups that formed the basis for this, or where is that at?
I would like to work closely with Khalid on developing a draft working group list and see if we can get that list approved through both my boss Dana and make sure that it's a working group that represents cross section of interest and stakeholder engagement.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Cameron, I'm curious as to where tourism and your plan lies as a priority for the Alberta government. Is it a high priority, or is it?
Yes, the provincial government. I've been with Travel Alberta for 16 years, and I've never seen the provincial government more interested in understanding how tourism can be a positive impact, not only economically but socially and pertaining to environmental sustainability. In moving forward, the provincial government is very committed to making sure that we elevate tourism as part of a balanced approach to enhancing the economics of the province. Developing a visitor economy is a positive impact in the sense that the visitor economy here in Alberta has a lot of opportunity to grow. It provides an opportunity for rural communities to bring in a new money and have a more sustainable year-round economic platform. So we're very, very excited about the fact that we'll be able to work with the provincial government over the next 10 years to make Albertans proud of this initiative. We're really, really excited about it.
Thank you. That was a complete setup question for my next bunch of comments.
I figured there might be a follow-up.
You have a pretty good idea where I'm going, don't you? It's mind-boggling to me that the Alberta government is committed to this in these areas.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, they want to clear-cut Highway 40 in the Highwood Pass, and they're going hog wild. Starts next week, if not Friday. That does nothing for this tourism plan when we're going nuts on that. Then it gets worse when we start going down into your Zone 10 Southern Rockies, where the start of this coal mining fiasco's back on the radar again. We're having to fight it again. The feedback I want you to take, I know none of this is your decision, but the feedback I'd like you to take to these people is that if you truly want to help the people of the Crow's Nest Pass and the Southern Rockies, you do exactly what you are saying, and you invest money in the Crow's Nest Pass and create a much more lucrative economic environment down there than the coal mining thing that's going to do nothing but destroy the actual areas you want people to visit.
Mm-hmm.
It's mind-boggling that the government's doing two things. And yes, the coal mining is 100% back on the docket. So
Yes.
it's even my little piece there, yes, and Highway 40, preferably you keep it closed for those 6 months. Yes, I get tourism, but it is an extremely sensitive corridor through there for wildlife and everything else. So, which again, mind-boggling with the logging. But the extent of what they're doing, and it's a little bit hypocritical with these two plans going on at the same time. So,
Yeah.
just feedback to take. If you want tourism in these areas, don't come in and destroy them. That'd be the first thing not to do.
Well, thank you for that.
You're
We'll
welcome.
take that comment back, Mayor, and absolutely, we're committed to a regenerative approach to tourism and ensuring tourism is a positive force in all those communities. Point well taken. We'll take that back.
Thank you. Because we're talking a multi-billion-dollar industry, this tourism.
Yeah.
We're talking virtually nothing the province gets out of it with the coal mining. I don't know what logging does for it, but I know the coal mining, there's absolutely nothing there for Alberta financially or any other means. So why destroy a multi-billion-dollar industry with looking for pennies, right?
Yeah.
So, anybody else? I'm hearing beeping going on, but I'm not seeing anything show up. But, are you in or are you out? Out? Okay. Thanks, Cameron. I don't have any further questions, so.
Okay.
Dana?
Thank you again.
Yeah, appreciate it. Marigold Library Board appointment. Sharon?
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Earlier this year, Council appointed 2 individuals from the High River Library Board to the Marigold Library Board, but they have recently retired from their volunteer positions on the Library Board. Administration, with support from the High River Library Board, is recommending Laurette LaPlante as a municipal representative for appointment to the Marigold Library Board for a 3-year term ending October 31st, 2026. Laurette LaPlante is a member of the High River Library Board in good standing. Does council have any questions or comments?
I don't see any. I'll ask for a motion from Councillor Kinghorn that council appoint Laurette LaPlante as the municipal representative for the town of High River to the Marigold Library Board for a 3-year term ending October 31st, 2026.
Thank you, Mayor Snodgrass. You have my motion.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Subdivision application extension request to endorsement package 1 year. Gennady?
Mayor and Councillor. I'm here to request a decision for an extension request by the applicant Jenga Homes to their subdivision application at 68 8th Avenue Southeast. The Municipal Government Act allows a 1-year period at a time for the applicant to provide an endorsement package, which administration can then review and approve so that the applicant can go ahead and register it with land titles. This period has expired on October 21st, 23, and the applicant has come to us to seek an extension. They have shown through their extension request letter that they are committed to completing this process, and we are seeking an extension therefore so that they may be eligible to register their plan with land titles. If anybody, that's really the summary of it, so I'm just seeking a decision here for that.
Thanks, Gennady. Any questions from council? I'll ask for a motion from Councillor Walsh that council grant the 1-year extension requested by the applicant to submit subdivision endorsement package for review and endorsement retroactively to October 21st, 2023, and that the extension to the subdivision endorsement package will expire on October 21st, 2024.
You have my motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Thanks, Gennady.
Thank you.
BSRC Aquatic Expansion Design, Nancy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In the February 27, 2023 regular council meeting, council approved award for prime consultant to GGA Architects. Since their onboarding, GGA has worked closely with the design working group to incorporate feedback from the group and the users that they represent. The first design of the aquatics lobby area was met with concern from some users due to the elimination of gender-based change rooms. Administration hosted an open house relative to the project on October 17th, 2023, to provide residents an update on the project and to solicit feedback on the project in its entirety. Overall, the project was met with support, identifying that residents requested additional design work on the aquatics lobby design to address concerns with the elimination of gender-based change rooms. GGA, in working with administration, council, the design working group, and with the public input, has developed an updated design to address safety and security concerns. Administration tasked the design working group with identifying a preferred design for the aquatics lobby. Only 2 of the 10 voting members of the group responded, both with a preference for option number 1. After thorough review and consideration, administration is recommending option number 2 as the desired design. Option 1 would require significant further design work to address operational concerns. As per Alberta Health Pool Standards Section 2.6, soap must be provided in showers and washrooms. Additionally, Section 11.2.1 indicates that all bathers must shower with soap prior to entering a public swimming pool. With the main showers being on the deck, design work would be required to ensure that no soap, shampoo, etc. enters the pool so as not to impact water quality and functionality of equipment. Additionally, option 1 does not provide any open shower access within the aquatics lobby space. Option 2 continues to provide deck shower access for post-swim rinses and provides open shower access within the lobby space. The design would allow bathers to access showers with soap prior to entering the deck space. Both options provide the same number of showers available for use. I would be happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Nancy. So the number of change stalls, if I'm reading this right, 5, 6, 7, 8. Can't remember what we were at before, 14 or 15 change stalls, and we're up to 22 now, correct?
Original design.
Okay. And more private shower stalls. Option 1 and 2 are basically the same other than that one little section.
Other
right?
than that one section.
So addressing
correct.
the concerns that we heard, more private shower stalls was the biggest one. So we've removed some of the lockers because we definitely had way too many lockers for what we need. We need more change stalls than we do lockers. Okay. And I understand what you're saying about the soap. That makes complete sense if number 7 on here, so that area would not have soap dispensers at all, correct?
Correct, on the deck
On the
side.
deck side, so that doesn't get into the pool. Number 8 there. Okay. Questions from council? Councillor Walsh?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Nancy. You've put a lot of effort into this. It shows. So the addition of the 5 change rooms that will include a shower, and that's a user groups, particularly the ones that are most concerned about showering in a public or shared space. Concern with a lot of the seniors is the ability to go utilize this facility. And for many, that shower is the best shower they're going to have all week because they don't climb in and out of their tub very well anymore. So there's a personal need to be met there as well. So that's my concern, that I appreciate the changes every single time we have a conversation trying to meet the needs of everybody. But I was just wondering if there had been any communication to, and it's a large user group and 25% of our population are seniors. So that's my concern or my question specific to that. Otherwise, it is starting to come together.
Great, thank you. And I will say from the original design, we've had lots of conversations with users when it came to the specifics of these 2 final sort of I guess not final, but our next iteration, we haven't had much because there's a really minimal, it's the addition of 2 more change rooms or pulling the showers inside off the deck.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
One of the other comments that I got back from, of course, private shower stalls is a big one, and then area for ladies to get ready. Seeing as they were at Aquafit, they have a shower, they want to get ready for work. So is there areas where you can do your hair? And I'm seeing,
Yes, if you look towards the top of the drawing, there's a station sort of right above where it says GS in the middle there.
Yep.
So that's kind of a get-ready station,
That's
plug in your hair dryer, whatever
Okay.
you need there.
okay,
Grooming station, thank you.
grooming station, that's the word I was looking for. Councillor Walsh?
Thank you. Is directly opposite that grooming station, what is that space?
Potentially another grooming station there. I don't
Okay.
think we're at that sort of level of detail, but that is what we're intending.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Looks like a bench in there right now, but could easily be
Correct.
if we wanted more. Okay. At the end of the lockers as well, right? At the end and, yeah. Gotcha. Okay. Councillor Kinghorn?
Thank you, Mayor Snodgrass. So on section 2, or what you've got is 2 in your diagram here, are those benches on each side of the lockers? That kind of
Yes.
grayed area?
Yes.
I thought we had talked about not having benches because then it encourages people to sit and that sort of thing. No, do you not? That's what I recall, is that we weren't gonna have benches there, because you'd walk up to the locker, put your clothes in the locker, and away you go. It's not an area to sit and dress or undress.
We can absolutely take that into consideration in the design if we don't feel that we need them. Different, you are correct, than the way that we're set up now is we will have a shoe station, so it isn't that you'll need to sit down and put on your shoes there or something like that. So we could absolutely consider that. It's still shown in the drawing here right
Yeah.
now.
Okay, I'm not saying it has good or bad, I'm just, thank you.
No further questions? Ask for a motion from Councillor Barton that council approve the aquatics expansion design option 2 and direct administration to proceed with the design process.
You have my motion, Mayor.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Thanks, Nancy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
BSRC, oh, you're still up, aren't you?
Yes.
Curling Club assets. Go ahead, Nancy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Administration had been working with the president of the Highwood Curling Club over the last year to transition the club from a lease to a user group. After the negotiations commenced, the terms were presented to the club at the August 28th, 2023 Highwood Curling Club Board meeting. At the September 11th, 2023 regular council meeting, administration presented the negotiated terms to council for approval to pay $9,000 in assets and $14,000 for renovation compensation for a total of $23,000 as agreed by the club president at the time. It was also agreed that the $23,000 would be applied to the club's account to offset fees while it rebuilt its membership. A meeting was held with the board on November 17th, 2023, in which the club indicated that they feel the renovation compensation did not include the purchase of the chairs, that are the soft chairs that are in the curling lounge. The club submitted an invoice for $7,862.40. Administration is recommending payment and purchase to address their request. Additionally, the new board is requesting to be paid the $23,000 plus GST by check for final asset and renovation compensation instead of credit to their account. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Okay, first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna split these into 2 motions.
Okay.
It's 2 separate items to deal with. So let's deal with the chairs first. If we were not to do this and told the curling club to take their chairs and do whatever, we still have to purchase chairs for the facility, correct?
Correct, we would
So-
purchase chairs. And we have a similar number of matching chairs, so we would want to stay with the same design.
Exactly, right? Okay, so dealing with the chairs, any question on the purchase of these chairs? Councillor Jones?
Thank you, Mayor Snodgrass, and thank you, Nancy. I do have a couple of questions. In the original purchase of assets, there was a list of items, and in that list, there was the chairs in that list. Some things were highlighted and some weren't. And then we purchased more assets the following meeting, but I don't have a list of what that is. So in one list, we do have the chairs as in the purchase of assets, and the other one, I don't have a list of what the $9,000 was for. Is that possible to see or get or know what that's for?
Yes, it will. Once we agree to the terms on the chairs, we'll do either a letter of understanding or memorandum of understanding to make sure that we capture all of the assets and wrap this up quite cleanly for the compensation for renovation as well.
Because my concern is at some point, we do have a list that includes the chairs. So did somehow they get missed in the final transaction, or?
Where's that list? I missed that one.
It was in the
That has-
previous, when we went through the request for the original funding for the 23,000, it was in the original council report that the chairs were included.
On June 26th.
Thank you. Our original discussions with the previous president of the Highwood Curling Club, we did include those. They weren't, I will take full accountability, they weren't, we did not have a full accurate list. We included kind of a wrap-up of this is what they felt they still needed to be compensated for. We agreed to a term, or to a number, and we went back to them with that number and accepted. So the club feels that those were not included in that original number, so we're recommending payment for them.
Okay. So on the counts, on the list that came to council, and then we made a motion to pay them for, it's on there. But somewhere between that and them being paid, they didn't agree to the chairs?
It is a new board and president.
But that doesn't matter. Just because the board changes doesn't mean all the previous rules get thrown out. There was,
And there were two separate, if you recall, I came to council 2 times. One was the assets all relative to curling. So those were those were itemized with values on it because those were the assets we were
Right.
primarily interested in purchasing.
ice making equipment. that
Correct.
kind of stuff, right?
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay. Can somebody find that list where it mentions the chairs? Can you find that?
I believe it's in the report as listed. Oh, is it? Okay, gotcha.
I'll give you a minute.
June 25th. So this is all the current assets, all listed price-wise, and then all the other assets, priced to arms, lounge chairs, but they have any prices. But it included all the
That's included here, that's 77,000.
that's all the assets and prices.
Right. But, so that's a list of assets, but that doesn't mean that's included with the 23. Okay, so, this makes sense for you, Jenny. So there's a complete list of assets there that totals up to $77,000, right? The issue that we've run into here is that when we made the deal for the $23,000 in compensation, we did not itemize anything for that. So that's where the contention is as to whether there's a $77,000 statement of inventory there. We only paid him $23,000. There's no statement of what's included in that $23,000. That's the miss. So we're back to the chairs. It makes sense to me.
I'd almost
Back to
like,
Kelly or Jenny?
sorry, I mean, I'd almost like to go back and, right now it's kind of convoluted, go back and itemize those and come up with one complete list or agreement than trying to amend. But just my thought.
Yeah, and I get that. There's two things we could do. We could go back, or we've got the $23,000 already taken care of. We make the deal on the chairs, and we're all done. Away we go. Correct, Kate? Then we move forward. It's up to you guys. Councillor Walsh.
Thank you, Mayor Snodgrass. My comment was to allude to the same. We're now here at this point with a price. There's a full list prior to any money exchange. So having everything itemized as per the list earlier, and then a proper agreement drawn up, I think just need to come to a price, and then the list to justify it, and moving ahead so these guys can get back to curling.
Okay, so just for clarity, you would support what Councillor Jones is saying, is that we rewind everything? Don't make any.
I'm agreeing that we're at the 23,000. We need to make the chairs part of the agreement.
Okay,
We need a complete and total asset list of what that sum is buying us.
okay, okay.
I don't want to go backwards at all.
Okay, so we're gonna put the motion on the floor regarding the chair purchase based on the invoice that the Highwood Curling Club has provided us. And we'll see where that motion goes, and then we'll decide where we're going from there. Huh? Is that kind of the way it's supposed to work? Okay, we'll get the motion on the floor and then more questions. So I'll ask for a motion from Councillor Nychuk, because he looks the most confused, that council approves $7,862.40, including GST, from the Building Improvement Fund to purchase chairs from the Highwood Curling Club.
Sorry, microphone. Before we move forward, can we step back with a question? Can we just hold that motion for a moment?
Yeah, we can get the motion on the floor. If you accept the motion, we'll get it on the floor.
Okay,
and
we'll
then
put
we
it
can
on the
ask all
floor. I'll give you the
questions.
motion.
Okay.
I'll give you that motion.
Beauty.
We'll put it on the floor.
Question?
The question might have to come through Councillor Jones Hearn. Sorry, just having a little bit of a sidebar to back on the $77,000 piece. And what exactly in that 77,000 we acquired? Seemingly, we made that $77,000 purchase. What's the date on that, Councillor Jones? June 5th.
The minutes say June 26th.
Minutes say June 26th.
On the itemized list, anything with a value on it, there was a proposed value, anything with a value in there, is included in the purchase of that 77,000. So if you add up everything that has a value in it, that's where you'll find that total.
That's where the 23 came from. Correct? No?
No,
We purchased 77. Did we purchase 77,000? Oh, that was the equipment. That was the rocks and everything. Gotcha. So everything on that $77,000 list, the 20 was purchased. Not everything on there. Everything with a value on that list was purchased, right?
that is
The
correct.
rocks, the equipment, all that stuff. Of course, that stuff did not involve in the 23,000.
That
Those
is
were the
correct.
high-ticket numbers that we needed to be able to operate the curling facility, right?
That is correct.
So the 96 chairs in there does not have a number attached to it. So those chairs were not purchased in the 77,000.
Thanks. Yeah, we're just trying to be clear about
Yep.
the events and the transitions from one piece to another and how we ended up here. Obviously, clarity for us as council and clarity also for the public too, so.
So then again, so chairs weren't purchased in the 77.
Correct.
Then we paid 23,000 for
Equipment and renovation compensation
equipment and renovation compensation. The problem with
for the
that
lounge.
is that was the piece that was not itemized, that we should have had itemized. It was not. So, no further questions. The motion is on the floor to support the purchase of the chairs of 7862.40. No further questions? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. The next one. So this is the 23,000. It was part of the purchase of the other assets. Was not, it wasn't a deal that was made that was just cut the check and be done. It was, you have basically a $23,000 credit on rental. All right? And then the last meeting, it was requested by the board that they would rather just have a check cut cash and then they pay full rental
Correct.
as they go along, right? And again, the credit deal was made by the previous board, previous president, previous manager. But it was a deal that was made at that time. Council can obviously change that, and if they so choose to cut the check at $23,000 plus GST today. Questions, Councillor Kinghorn?
Thank you, Mayor Snodgrass. Do we know why they're requesting the 23 instead of setting it aside to pay the rental for however many years it works out to be?
That is their preference that they've indicated to us. It would probably be used up within 2 years. So it wouldn't be something in perpetuity. So that was just at their request.
So the 23,000 would be used up within a couple of years. Okay.
So I'll ask for a motion from Councillor Smith that council approve administration resolve the outstanding payment for assets and renovation costs of $23,000 plus GST by check out of the BSRC 2023 operating budget.
I'll give you that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Question from Councillor Smith?
So, if I'm understanding correctly, once this is dispersed, all fiduciary responsibilities will be now tied and done as far as the curling club is concerned?
That is our understanding, correct. We will need to collect, we had been applying this as a credit, so we'll need to collect user fees for October and November, which will be the only money owing to the town.
Would it be easier to deduct that and then issue the check for that amount?
God, can we just make it simple, please?
Okay. Okay, thank you, Nancy.
If we cut the check for 23 plus GST, then Curling Club owes us for the last 2 months of rent. Right? Pretty easy. Councillor Kinghorn.
Yeah, just one last question. Do we have an agreement in place with the curling club for the next 2 years rental rates on the facility?
They are a user group now, so it is part of the rate bylaw. So, and we do have their bookings for this season.
Thank you.
Councillor Walsh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The question similarly with the rates that are laid out for the upcoming 2 years, offering the money back or leaving it as a credit to cover their fees. I have a little reservation about issuing a full refund or the payments back. In the past, they've needed a lot of financial support. So paying out the amount, and we've now invested handsomely in managing all of this at our expense. So to take on an additional expense of a cash payout of $23,000, I'm not in favor of. I think we should buy the chairs. That was a direct expense, but I am not in favor of a straight refund. Thank you.
Okay. Motion is on the floor to provide a check, $23,000 plus GST, to the curling club. From there on, it's user group. They pay their rental as they go. No further questions? All in favor? Opposed? Motion is denied. Fails. Whatever. I rarely say that, so I don't even know what the word is for it. Okay.
Thank you, Mr.
So
Mayor.
we're back to the $23,000 credit is on with the, okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nancy. Active transportation plan. Sarah?
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council. I'm here today to talk about the active transportation plan for the town of High River. So the town did receive funding from Infrastructure Canada through their public transit program, Active Transportation Fund, to complete an active transportation plan. The town has been working on this project with our consultant, Urban Systems, as well as a task force. That task force consisted of community members, a member of council, and members of administration. The project included community engagement for this particular one. This included an open house that was on January 17th earlier this year, and 2 public surveys. The plan lays out the short, medium, and long-term transportation projects, active transportation projects, for the town to undertake within the community. The intent of this plan is to outline a coordinated approach based on community input to improve and to expand our active transportation network throughout the town. This plan will assist leaders in town administration in creating their annual work plans, and will assist staff in writing grant applications for those short, medium, and long-term projects that the town is intending to undertake. Today's recommendation is that council adopt the active transportation plan as presented, and that council direct administration to prioritize the proposed recommendations and develop work plans to be integrated into the organizational strategic priorities chart. Are there any questions?
Thanks, Sarah. No questions from council. I'll ask for a motion from Councillor Walsh that council adopt the active transportation plan as presented, and the council direct administration to prioritize the proposed recommendations and develop work plans to be integrated into the organizational strategic priorities chart.
Thank you, Mayor Snodgrass. I'd be happy to give you that motion.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Climate change adaptation action plan. Sarah?
Yes, now I'll be talking about the Climate Change Adaptation Action Plan, or CCAAP. So the town received funding for this project as well. This time it was from the Climate Resiliency Capacity Building Program. To complete this plan, the town also worked on this project with Urban Systems as well as the task force, consisting of community members, a member of council, and members of town administration. This project also also included community engagement. We also did an open house on January 17th. We did another one on April 17th, 2023. Further, we did some youth presentations at local schools in High River and one public survey. The CCAAP identifies adaptation measures that the town will take in order to increase its resilience to climate hazards. The measures are categorized under either foundational or under one of 4 specific climate hazard categories. So those are drought, high water events, wildfire, and extreme heat. In total, there are 55 different adaptation measures in the plan. And the plan identifies timelines, so either short, medium, or long term. The CCAAP will serve, similar to the ATP, as a plan to guide the town. And the adaptation measures will be assigned to a specific lead division to ensure it's very clear which division is in charge of which of those 55 different implementation measures. And the plan will assist division managers in creating their annual work plans and will assist staff in writing grant applications. Today's motion recommendation is that council adopt the Climate Change Adaptation Action Plan and that council direct administration to prioritize the high and medium risk actions to integrate into the organizational priorities chart to be actioned by staff. Are there any questions?
No questions from council. I'll ask for a motion from Councillor Barton. The council adopt the Climate Change Adaptation Action Plan and the council direct administration to prioritize the high and medium risk actions to integrate into the organizational priorities chart to be actioned by staff.
You have my motion, Mayor.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Thanks, Sarah. Any councillor reports? I would like to say a wonderful job that our staff did in putting together our Christmas party on Saturday that we all had a blast at. So thanks very much to Jody and everybody else that pitched in to make that happen. Councillor Barton's fiance is requesting a DJ for next year, so. More pie. Board and committee reports, anybody? Councillor Kinghorn?
Thank you, Mayor Snodgrass. Not really a report. I just think that I want to let council and the public know that as a result of the transaction with the High River Regional Airport, both myself and Councillor Walsh, have handed in our resignations to that particular board.
Excellent. Thank you. Board and committee minutes, Museum of the Highwood meeting minutes. Any public comments on agenda items before we move on? Carol?
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I had a couple of comments prior to this, but I wanted to wait to hear what people's comments were throughout. So I'm going to just speak to, I guess, first of all, with the active transportation plan, noticing the new pathway on 2nd Avenue Southeast towards the Hamptons. What was the decision made around having the yellow line down the center?
In essence, Mayor Snodgrass through to Mrs. McMillan, it was to ensure that there was a division between two-way traffic. It was a much more regional corridor than it was built to a 3-meter standard instead of the standard 2, so it was to accommodate more traffic. So that was kind of the intent, to accommodate the multiple uses, both cyclists as well as walkers, and to have delineation so that people know that there's two sides to the road, so to speak, for that active transportation process.
So just thinking about future repairs to the Happy Trails, is this going to be the focus of having
yellow lines down all of our happy trails?
Not necessarily.
No.
Okay, because in my mind,
I hate
that takes the happy out of the happy trails, so just.
I agree.
And one thing I will say, that when you look at it visually, having that yellow line, you can see the dips. So and because I walk these trails all the time, and I've heard feedback, like people aren't really that happy. It's a little bit, well, it's been a little bit comical because people have been intentionally walking on the other side because they don't like being told on what side. So just
I'm with
Just
you.
a comment.
I'm with Carol 100%. I do not like the yellow lines on our happy trails, and so just make sure they don't do it when they pave going around the Hamptons, and we'll let this one just fade away into eternity and never to be repainted again.
I appreciate that.
I'm with you, Carol.
And so kind of thinking about future public engagement, what I noticed when I was talking to the consultants at the active transportation thing where we had our sticky notes, and I asked her where she was from, and she said she was from Calgary. And I said, so have you walked around High River? And she said, no. And then I also just pointed out that a lot of the posters were already formally created. Yes, we had our opportunities to put little dots and stickies. But I happened to say to her that when you come for public engagement, wouldn't you like to hear from the people who actually live here to give some suggestions? And she looked at me and said, that would be a really good idea. So just, these are things that make a citizen lose faith in just the process. So one request I would hope as a suggestion is, I know this is based on an RFP situation, but is there another level of depth that's not just about the cost, but maybe you can actually interview some of the consultants so that they actually have a greater connection? Because there was another consultant there who was from Kelowna, and then that's why I was mentioning to another citizen is that I noticed one suggestion for us for active transportation was paddle boarding, kayaking, and canoeing to utilize our river system. So,
To
just a
get from
thought.
one place to another?
It said we could utilize the river.
Yeah.
So, I'm still reading, even though I'm not on council, I'm reading the 100 so many pages, so, okay. And, let's see. I was hopeful that someone from council would have asked Nancy why only 2 of the 10 voting members of the design working group responded to the question about option 1 or 2. So I was just wondering why were there only 2 out of 10 members of the working group who responded to that question?
I don't know. We had meetings where it was all discussed, so lots of times it happens there rather than a response. The response from a written one, like we all talked about it during the meeting itself, not just because there was only 2 responses that were written responses. Everybody spoke to it.
Okay, I just was wanting clarification about that. And let's see. One thing I'd like to make a comment about the benches in the pool. I think those are absolutely essential, especially when it was mentioned that 25% of the users are seniors. We can't expect people to stand around in their wet, soggy suits. Mobility issues without being able to sit down. And I know a comment was made about the social component of these benches, but for a lot of people going to the pool, that's what it is about. It's not just functionally going into the floor to ceiling shower and going out to swim and then coming back. So I would hope that benches are incorporated. Let's see. Sorry. And sorry about that. Okay, and I guess finally what I would just say, and I know it's no secret, I'm not in favor of the pool project, largely because of the overturning of the referendum. And it is a big project. I was kind of happy to see in the request for the resolution that there's a comment about that council still doesn't have to go through with this. I know there's been some money invested already, but when you look at, I know it was mentioned that there was positive feedback from the open house. The positive feedback was the fact that so many people went there. But when you really read the feedback, I didn't see a lot of happy people about that. When you even got a comment that someone left in tears because it goes against, their philosophies or whatever. And frankly, when I was at the open house, I honestly didn't hear a single positive about the pool expansion. So it's just, once again, I really am imploring that maybe people think about what the citizens like and want. And I understand, I'm not saying that a recreation isn't important to us, but I don't think it's the proper location, and that was even mentioned in the feedback. And I guess just kind of in conclusion, something's been bothering me since I came to speak on October 10th, and you said, Mayor Snodgrass, that the referendum should never have been held at the same time as an election, and it was railroaded, and because of COVID. Well, the minute I got home, I thought to myself, how come only the referendum then was negatively impacted by COVID? You didn't question the election results. You didn't think COVID or the referendum negatively affected. So I'm just saying this as just a little suggestion about maybe to think, because your words represent, especially if people aren't speaking up, you're representing everyone. And it just didn't seem logical to me, Craig, that you would say that.
Okay.
Pardon me?
Okay.
Okay. No, it was just I had a moment when I got home thinking it just didn't seem very logical.
Okay.
Okay?
Two different viewpoints on that.
That's totally
Two different
fair.
pieces of
Yeah.
experience. Yeah.
No,
Yep.
I respect that. And thank you for your time.
Yep. Councillor Smith?
Thank you, Mrs. McMillan. I did want to say that I personally had about 10 people at the open house come up to me and suggest that they were very excited and that they felt that the pool expansion was about 20 years past due to be done. So I do think that there is a lot of folks out there who are keen to have an expanded recreation opportunity within our community and that have felt, myself included, for some time that it is long overdue. And so I'm happy to be able to take steps towards creating that for this community, because I myself have traveled to take my children to other facilities with better offerings or different offerings that we do not have here. So I think for a lot of folks, they are looking forward to having something new and exciting to offer with an expanded programming opportunities, with expanded recreation opportunities. So with all due respect, I'm gonna respectfully disagree, because I did hear positive feedback from quite a number of people. Thank you.
And I respect that, Councillor Smith. I think one of my big questions to this day is about the location. And when I talked to the one of the project managers that were the scribes that day, I asked, has Alberta Environment approved this? And he said, well, actually, that doesn't get the approval till after the design. But I guess my little question would be, what does happen if Alberta Environment says no for that particular location?
What's your concern on the location?
Well, remember, what was it, 2019? Council was approached about, remember the outdoor pickleball group was looking for a location of land. Their prime place was their requested spot was at the parking lot by the baseball diamond. It was on the recreation site, right, because they wanted access to the washrooms. And then this was just all casually talked about in, I think, committee of the whole. I know we gave the resolution to find some land to donate. And then Chris did come back and say that actually they couldn't build at the rec center because Alberta Environment said it's a floodway. And so this has been always my question of perplexity with this, that you have a superficial thing that can't be built, but yet a $15 million expansion. And that I had a very interesting conversation with the project manager, the design person, because he said, oh yeah, he didn't even know.
Okay. Yeah, so it has to do with the floodway maps along the Little Bow River that do not expand all the way to the other side of it's specifically to do with the floodway mapping, where we all remember in High River, the pink zone, the light pink or the red, which one are you in? And that's where, along where those ball diamonds are and the parking lot is, those areas encroach into those floodway, flood fringe pieces of the Little Bow River. The other side of the rec center, home hardware, have nothing to do with that.
Even though we've got the creek behind.
They're not in those red designated areas. And that's what defines everything, whether you can build or you can't build. It's like everywhere else in High River. Floodway, flood fringe, it's the maps.
So even if it's pink, like what's pink? Is that fringe?
Pink is fringe, right? I can't remember what the maps look like, but it's 2 shades of pink, exactly. Correct. Regardless, Alberta Environment, I don't know we need any approval from Alberta Environment whatsoever whether to do this project. In fact,
Well,
we don't.
Then why were they consulted about the courts?
I don't know that they were. They
Because Chris,
wouldn't.
I'm sure you came back and said Alberta Environment said there can't be any
Well,
building.
because they have said that within floodway and flood fringe designated
Oh,
areas.
for that, because that's called way.
That's their rules.
Right, but that's because that was floodway, not flood fringe.
I don't know.
Yeah, I can't remember the exact conversation, but the conversation was that you couldn't have anything that impeded water or debris from moving. And with the pickleball courts, the big problem was they wanted fences. So just like the ball diamonds that are there, the fences would impede debris. And so it's not that the pickleball courts themselves couldn't go in place, but it's the fences,
fencing.
the fencing that they wanted to have around it couldn't be in place unless we were more creative in solving that problem to achieve their needs.
Okay.
Councillor Kinghorn?
Thank you, Mayor Snodgrass. So when we built the field house, we went through this process that you're talking about, Carol. We talked to Alberta Environment, and we'd originally planned to put that building on the east side where the rink development was. That's where we're looking at putting it because it fit better on that plot of land. But they said no because it was on floodway, so we moved it over to the other side. And there it was approved. And of course, the pool addition is going to be on that other side as well, so it won't be impacted.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thanks, Carol.
Thank you.
Council correspondence requiring action. Proclamation of Wear Red Canada Day. So I'll ask for a motion from Councillor Nychuk. The council proclaim February 13th, 2024 as Wear Red. Oh, sorry. I went blowing right by. Sorry, ma'am. Let's come up and we'll get your name, please.
Hello, my name is Sabrina Albright, and I have 2 comments. One would be regarding the active transportation plan. I think this is a fantastic approach that the town is looking at. I do have a couple of comments. I feel that the transportation plan is very pedestrian-centric, which is amazing. A lot of people walk here. It's a very walkable community. My concern is the lack of cycling routes through the main part of the community. I see there's only 2 yellow lines right in the actual town area. A lot of the cycling seems to be around the happy trails, and in my opinion, that would be geared more towards leisure use than transportation of getting from point A to point B for shopping or school or work. And I'm just wondering what the thought process was with limiting the access to safe cycling within the town roadways.
So I'm confused. How is this plan limiting cycling?
There's a yellow dotted line on 3rd southeast that goes by Shoppers, and then there's another one on the southwest, but there isn't really a large link of cycling routes through the roadways. So I'm just wondering why there isn't a connection or really a lot of interest in having the cycling within town.
So I just need to understand, how does the yellow line pertain to cycling?
According to the map that was submitted on the active transportation plan, the dashed yellow line is the bike route. And I just don't really see a big
I
connect.
get you. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thank you.
Certainly, thank you, Sabrina, for the comment. When we went through the public consultation, while cycling was talked about, there was real concern about dedicating infrastructure, especially road infrastructure, to the use dedicated for only bikes. And so the approach that we took was, let's start with baby steps with this first rendition of the plan. Let's integrate cycling where we can into the roadways that make some sense, that are more arterial corridors than they are collectors or recreational, and use our happy trails where possible from that perspective as a shared source. One of our key recommendations within the transportation plan as well is to start a campaign about educating drivers on cyclists within the community and about the Share the Road campaign. And that's one of the key recommendations as well, is to start with that baby step to educate, because fundamentally under the Traffic Act, cyclists need to be on the road. They need to be in dedicated spaces, and drivers need to recognize them as well. And so part of that is the baby steps to educate our drivers, as well as that they're going to be sharing the road. The other comment that we got was that we're a winter community. And while there are cyclists that are avid, that like to cycle all year long, we don't have that large of a community for winter cycling that came to the engagement sessions with us. And we have been working with an advocate out of the city of Calgary about how to educate the public on how winter cycling takes place. So I wouldn't say that it's forgotten. It's just that we have to start baby steps. We're starting from zero, and we've identified one key corridor that could have a potential bike lane on it from that purpose, but it requires a lot of work to educate the public as well as those adjacent property owners.
Sorry, Sabrina, I see what you're talking about now, because I was thinking about the yellow lines painted on the road.
No, on the legend.
I'm seeing, going back to the map, I get it. 100%.
Does that answer your question, Sabrina?
Yes, I appreciate that it's a start. I also can appreciate that a day like today would be a great day to be able to ride your bicycle, and that cycling in this community really gets you from point A to point B very quickly. And you also have the opportunity to carry some equipment or gear either in a backpack or on a carrier on your bicycle. And just looking at transportation in a way of moving throughout our day compared to a leisure activity, and kind of separating those two types of activities. That really, if the goal is to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions and looking at it from a climate perspective, asking most people to be pedestrians to walk as the main source of active transportation compared to having a variety of options for them. I think it's something to kind of just really consider, that there is safe ways, especially with signage not on the road because of the snow, but sign posts designating just a few lower vehicle use areas to have bicycles, just to have that identification of this is a potential road for cyclists to use that is safe, instead of going the long way around. Just looking at human behavior, we like to go from point A to point B the shortest distance possible. So taking the longer route may be nice for scenery on the happy trails, but most people will still cycle through those roadways, whether there's a sign or not. They do like to go the shortest way. So the other comment I had is with regards to the proposed washrooms for the change room for the Rexplex. I did notice that there aren't any mixed-use change room designation where you have a toilet and a changing area together. It seems that you're either using the toilet in one area and going over to change in another. And I'm just wondering if you could take my comment that maybe there could be a few toilets within the accessible change rooms, as well as a family change room, that often changing and using the toilet go hand in hand. And if a family is going in with multiple children, that they might want to do those same uses at the same time. I would not recommend it in all of them, but just one or two options to have that as something to think about.
You know, it's interesting you mention that, because I've been paying attention when we take the kids to other places, and I have yet to find where there's a toilet in change room in any of these, the family areas, or I think it's just hygienically, I don't know what it is for the next person coming in. I don't know what it is. I'm just saying that that's what I've seen, that they don't normally do that, but we can absolutely take it back to the architects and ask about it. Is there a question from?
In option number 2. Thank you. Hi. In option number 2, directly opposite the 5 individual change stalls with a shower in behind, there are 2 fully equipped family rooms with a shower, sink, a drop-down change, and a toilet.
Okay,
Yeah.
excellent. I'll take another look at that. Thank you, Brenda.
That was in the number
in the big
2, I think.
In the big wheelchair ones?
Thank you. Those are my comments. Thank you so much. I appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Sabrina. Appreciate it. Anybody else? Good. Back to where what's that? What? Who? What? You just talking? I'm just smiling. Okay. Well, that's for a motion from Councillor Nychuk now that council proclaim February 13th, 2024 as Wear Red Canada Day to raise awareness about women's cardiovascular health, and the council authorized mayor to sign the Town of High River Wear Red Canada Day proclamation.
As you're well aware, Mr. Mayor, I'd be very happy to give you that motion.
Thank you. All in favor? Council correspondence for information. The Northback one, that's to do with the SOC that we filed. This response that came back, not from Northback, but came back from their law firm, Bennett Jones, which was not an answer. And this was one SOC that was sent to all 122 communities, businesses, individuals, organizations that did SOCs regarding their application for coal exploration. This response is beyond weak in my mind. It didn't address anything that any of us put in there as towards our concerns. The interesting piece is that Jason Kenny, who started this whole mess a few years ago, works for Bennett Jones now, as does another lawyer that was involved in that whole fiasco. They all work for Bennett Jones now, who is now Northback. So it's as greasy as it gets. So we'll continue on that one. Then there's the correspondence. I think it's Tom and a few others, correspondence regarding the Rimrock Tidewater biodigester proposal. So at this time, I will ask for a motion from Councillor Smith. The council recess the regular council meeting November 27th at 4:33 p.m. and move into a closed meeting.
I'll give you that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Meeting adjourned at 5 PM.